have this wholesale manager to interact with him on how the prices of the commodities keep changing even within a day.
The dollar is not stable as at now. The dollar keeps increasing, and you know most of these rice that we're selling here, they are not locally made. It's imported. And then one thing I was told to is like inflation has gone high, and then duties. Duties, I think they have increased from 11% to 20%. And if that is supposed to happen, it means the price of the commodities will also have to go up.
You rightly mentioned that you are importing some of these items from outside. Why are you not purchasing the locally made ones?
This is not the only place. You can go around different shops. You not get the locally manufactured products there. It's not in the markets. It's hard you come by them. Yeah, and then that one too, I was told it keeps increasing. Though it's manufactured locally, but the price also keeps increasing.
So we have been interacting with some buyers and marketers, and even those who retail sellers here at the PZ market right here at Doom, and they have been telling us how the prices of commodities on the markets is adversely impacting their business, and they are hoping that the government can actually do something about it. Reporting from here at the PZ market in Edum, my name is Emmanuel Brightcook.
From Kumasi, let's come to Accra. Rejoice Semefakpeso has been engaging some traders at the Malata market.
Second, 1,002. Nanki a ton of 700. And last week we buy 800. This week almost 1,002. 1,002. Transportation maya. Kaya yo maya. Nti say wo kan nyina woman na chese 1,003. Ye fa no kotoku. Anase dobenase. Nti sa na eti nti say nanka rubber ne 50 cedis. So say 60.
The sack of onions used to be 700 cedis. Just this week, it is 1,200 cedis. I think this is due to the transportation cost and the depreciation of the cedi against the dollar.
My drink is 20. Kitwani at 10. This is 100 cedis. Because no bonus. Where 40, where 60, Emma Green. Kokona ne boy heading. Me so baby. Because me will say ne boy.
I don't buy much because of the prices. The amount of money that can be used to buy the sack of pepper a few months ago can only purchase half a sack today.
Basket no. Wait, your basket be a yellow blue basket Emma. And no son no, I must say 11 million. Until 11 million me tobacco na machim na matumbi and the chia na masatu said e be anya meka
rubber near 150 and I weigh near 80 weigh 50 weigh 30 once in so na turn to s and tamani boyede na vrungu nuko if time ba kunu so or the two important.
I wish we could add value to the Ghanaian tomatoes because the ones from outside the country sell faster. That is the cause of the cedi depreciation.
But towns can be black, come up be man, so now, wow, man, so now, yes, it can work from the basin, is it can be black or Geo Mudeno. So a man boy
pepper to whatever. And we can't make it. We're just struggling to buy little for the house. Before I come to the market to buy once a month. Now I can't. Every 3 days, every week itself I can't. So we hope for the best when the rain stops.
How does it affect the quantity of food that you prepare for the family?
It's unfortunate. Family of two. It affects it though because if I like a gravy. Because I don't like canned tomatoes, I like the fresh tomatoes. So it's affecting me well. So we have to reduce the size we eat, we take, and the size we buy to squeeze ourselves to see whether it will last for us.
When I bought our vegetables, I cut them, so tomato, onions. I was just asking her, I think they found a nice way of selling to you without you realizing it. So instead of increasing the prices, they reduce the quantity and they're taking you the same thing. So I think it's one of their strategies of making sure that people don't complain. But definitely we will know the difference. Yeah. I mean, if I come and the quantity has reduced, I will definitely know. So I was asking her about why the numbers, they used to give me so many fingers, now it's just a few of them, yeah.
The Joy News team has been monitoring market prices of selected food items since November 2022, and there's an interesting trend emerging this year. Data analyst Kofi joins us to explore that angle. Kofi, tell us more about the recent hike in prices of food items such as tomato, pepper, and the likes.
Well, firstly, it's good we started from the market. Now, from the market, let's look at the data that we've been monitoring since November 2022. In collaboration with SBM Intelligence. We have a whole database to analyze this and tell you the interesting trends that we've seen so far. So we will be focusing on some of the food items, and I'd like to start with that of pepper, because it's important. Right now, the price of pepper is actually hotter than the pepper itself, because if you look at the what they call the paint container of pepper, which used to be somewhere around 65 cedis per that container, currently is selling, just like you see on your screen, 200 cedis. If you do the math, that's about 200%, rise between, June last year and June this year. So in just a period of 1 year, the price of pepper, in terms of the paint container, in the local parlance, how they call it, has increased by more than 200%. That's just pepper. Now let's go to let me even talk to how do you call it? Speak more on the sack, because it's from the sack that you get this paint container. The sack of pepper is now selling between 3,500 and 4,500. Is with the same sack that the market women will now get the paint container out of, which they are selling around 200 cedis, currently. Now, if you go to, tomatoes, which we've also been monitoring the data from June last year to June this year, and that has also seen a significant rise from 75 cedis June last year. Now we are talking about 120, 80 cedis this year. That's about 140% rise in the price. Now, before you can even sell this paint container of tomatoes, you need to first probably buy the box, which they call the adaka. How much is that also selling? We've been monitoring that as well. And the beginning of the year, you could get the adaka or the box of tomatoes around 1,500. Currently, we are looking at 7,000, between 6,000 and 7,000 cedis. That's how much a box of tomatoes is costing at the moment, in the various markets. We've been monitoring not just one market, but 12 markets across the length and breadth of the country. Usually we've scattered the country, we've split the country into two. That's the northern sector and the southern sector. We are monitoring 12 markets. And this is the average price you get from the monitoring that we've been doing. Something that was costing 1,500 is now about 7,000 cedis, and that gives you, a price change of more than 366% within just 6 months of the year.
Now, we understand that fresh data from the Ghana Statistical Service paints a gloomy picture about how much we spend importing items like tomatoes. Why is that?
I mean, firstly, majority of the tomatoes, the pepper, the onions, and even yam that we consume usually come from neighboring countries. There's Burkina Faso, there's Niger, and there's also Mali. We depend on them for some of these tomatoes, not just the fresh tomatoes, but other products of the tomatoes. So we went straight into the Ghana Statistical Service. They've been doing a great job providing us data at the disaggregated level for us to understand what is going on in the market. So from the Ghana Statistical Service data bank, what you can find is that last year, which is 2023, the total amount we use in importing tomatoes into this country, so tomatoes and other products, other tomato products, is around 36.1 million, dollars. That's the total amount we use to import tomatoes and other tomato products into this country. $36.1 million is huge amount of money if you are considering the kind of depreciation the city is going through at the moment. In terms of pepper, we use close to, I think, more than $3.8 million to import pepper and other pepper products into the country. Onions is around $2 million. Onions and dried onions, the chilled ones and the fresh ones, that's also about $2 million. So if you sum all of them up, we are talking about more than, somewhere around $45 million that we need every year to import on the average, tomatoes and other tomato products, pepper and other pepper products, and then onions and other onion products. So that's huge. And that's adding a lot of weight to our import bill, which is currently hovering above $10 billion, annually.
Thank you so much, Kofi AJ, is data analyst with the Joy Research Desk. Now, what are the causes and consequences of food prices fluctuations, and how do we stabilize the market? Let's bring in Professor Robert Adu. He's an agricultural economist and he joins us here on NewsDesk. Thank you so much for your time. Let's start with the primary factors influencing food prices on the market.
Thank you very much, Fosti. I think the primary causes are quite obvious. Kofi was talking about some of them already. So we have the demand side issues, and obviously it's about production. And so if you don't produce enough, then you are going to have this challenge on your hands. What is happening in agriculture is that in Ghana, we are overly dependent on the weather. And so we say that our production is cyclical, it is seasonal. And so if you monitor, you would notice that we are now planting, some crops have started coming, others will come later, around August, September. And so if you look at the calendar, you are not surprised that you are seeing these high prices on the market, even from the production side. I can give you an example. If you take yams, you notice that when we are within this period, this is when the yams that were produced last year, we are trying to clear some of them from the market. And we are going to see the new yam come, I think, towards the end of this month to July and then August. So around August, September, you see that we'll have a lot of yams on the market and the prices will ease, they will go down. And so production cycle is accounting for this. Kofi was talking about onions and other vegetables like tomatoes. The point is that we have depended largely on natural rains to produce some of these things in Ghana. Because of that, when you're in the dry season, we don't produce much of it. And so the little you produce and you send it out there, demand outstrips supply. Therefore, prices will naturally go up. Then let's come to the exchange rate factor. Again, you would notice that some of the commodities that we are importing, you need hard foreign currency to be able to bring them in. And so if the city is not doing very well against the major trading currencies, then obviously you will know that it is going to translate into higher prices. I can give you the example of wheat. Wheat we import largely from Russia, Ukraine areas and all that. Once you are importing wheat and the city is performing badly, the price of wheat on the market will be very high. Therefore, it is not surprising that prices of bread are so high. Now they give you 5 cedis worth of bread or 10 cedi worth of bread, and your last born, who is just about 7 years, can finish it within a short period of time. And so we need to look at those factors. The other factors that we can also talk about, high cost of production, high cost of agricultural production. So inflation, Kofi was mentioning that prices of almost all inputs are up. So if you were producing, let's say, layers, and therefore you were putting eggs on the market, price of feed is so high because maize prices are up, all the ingredients, their prices have seen increases. Therefore, once your cost of production increases, it has to be passed on to the final consumer. So again, it is not surprising that you go out there on the market looking for egg, and then they give you a crate of egg for 60 Ghana cedis, 70 Ghana cedis, and the sizes are also not good. And so we are seeing a situation where we know the solution. We know we have to do a lot domestically to increase production, but we are not doing much about that. Let me also talk about inefficiency in the distribution and storage of food in Ghana. So food is produced in some parts of the country where we call food baskets. They have to be transported all the way to the major consuming centers like Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, Cape Coast, and all that. Now, if the distribution network is inefficient, it will add to the cost. So it's important that we look at the road network, the feeder roads that bring the food from the bush to the urban centers. Again, anytime you see that fuel prices are going up, they have a bearing on the prices of food commodities because people have to transport these food commodities from far away before they get to these big cities for us to get some for consumption. So it is quite obvious that anytime government says that I'm increasing prices of fuel, then food prices are going to be affected. And so we need to look at all these supply side and demand side factors and see how we can address the increasing prices of food on the market.
Let's look at the economic policies, because what do you propose could help mitigate the adverse impact of price volatility in the food market?
Well, so if you flip what I have said, obviously you get the solution. That's why I always say that we all know the solutions. So on the production side, we cannot overemphasize the importance of irrigation. We have left our farmers to just do the little that they can. And at the end of the day, when there is no rain, they just stop. And we all suffer at the end of the day. And so government has to revisit the policy of helping farmers to farm throughout the year by providing small-scale irrigation infrastructure. It will really, really go a long way to help. Again, let us improve the storage. And here I can make specific mention of the buffer stock company. You see, if you go back a little and you look at the history surrounding the formation or the rationale for forming a national food buffer stock company, the essence is to try and mop excess food from the market and keep it so that in periods like this, when we have a lot of scarcity on the market, buffer stock could release food onto the market. Unfortunately, I think the way we have used our national buffer stock leaves a lot to be desired. The primary aim for which we set it up, I think we have abandoned it. Now it is actively supporting the school feeding program, which is okay. It's also supporting other initiatives, which is fine, but maybe we need to talk to them for them to refocus so that they don't actually participate in the market and compete with people who are doing business in the market. Buffer stock, by its formation, should intervene when farmers have produced and the prices are very low and they are not comfortable with it. Then it takes it out and pays them something that helps them to cover their cost. When prices are very high, as we are seeing them now, then buffer stock releases some food onto the market to ease the price for everyone to be happy. So that is one thing I was saying. The next one that we have to do is to again call on managers of the economy to manage the economy such that inflation can continue to come down faster than it is doing now. And again, we need to manage the exchange rate well so that we bring down the pressure on the CD. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. And then I think the mother of all solutions is domestication. We need to begin to support the production of food commodities locally. This over-reliance on the imported food, it won't help anybody. So we need to support local production. We need to support them with resources so they are able to produce, so we can all get it at cheaper prices and enjoy ourselves when we are at the table.
Great for your time here on Newsdesk, Professor Robert Adu. Now let's explore this further and bring in Charles Nyaba. He's Executive Director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. Now, what's the reality on the ground? You are on the ground as a farmer. Why do you think the prices of food commodities are soaring?
Thank you and good morning. I think if you look at the trend of food prices over the past 5 years, from now until July, we usually experience this kind of price increase. This is because it is a period between the lean season and the bumper season. So we are not yet in the bumper season. So you will have seen people planting and they are now transitioning into harvest, where we'll get bumper harvest. Why this year's case is a bit frightening is that, unlike previous years, by now, if you travel across farming communities, you have seen crops, you have seen maize growing, you have seen farmers planting. But as of now, when you go to most of the places, there is no action taking place. So that's one. The second reason why this year prices are so high, previously, we used to receive some kind of support from government. But last year, after government shifted away from planting for food and job phase 1 to planting for food and job phase 2, that is the input credit to input subsidy to input credit, there hasn't been any support to the farmers. Hello, can you hear me?
Claire, Charles Nyaba.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Please make your point.
Yeah, there hasn't been any special support from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to the farmers. So the farmers have to use their own resources to compete with the imported commodities in the market, to buy from the open market price, and cost of all these inputs also went high. So for farmers to continue to be able to produce means that the farmer have to at least adjust the cost of the commodity to match with the cost of the inputs. And as of last month, almost all the factors that we use to produce, ranging from agrochemicals, fertilizer, mechanization service, has also increased. When I inquired, according to the mechanization service providers, they said fuel price has increased. So if they maintain their last year prices, it means they won't be able to provide the service to us. Fertilizer prices, I went to the market, the price increased. I asked why. They said the exchange rate, because they need to go back and import it. So if they have to sell it at the last year price, it means that when they go back, they won't be able to bring it. The same to agrochemicals. Now, as a farmer, if you are having a bump May, for you to be able to buy fertilizer, you need to also increase the price marginal to be able to buy the fertilizer to farm. But the prices that the farmers are putting on their commodities is far less than what you, the consumers, are buying. Because the middleman or the trading, when they go to the rural areas to buy, no especially on the marginal increase that the farmer will put there, when they bring it to the city or bring it to the market, the price that they increase, they even get more profit than the farmers. I also try to engage some of them, and the reason they are giving is that the fuel price is so high. If they don't increase it that way, they won't be able to sustain their business. So there are multiplicity of factors that are leading to current increase in food prices. But I can assure you that the farmer is not taking all the margins that you are paying for.
Now, let's look at solutions, because when we spoke to people on the ground, they're raising concerns about production. But you're telling me the problem is more of a middleman problem. Let's look at solutions. How do you think we can fix this moving forward?
Now, let me I don't know whether I should use used the term, let me correct you, or let me draw your attention. I didn't say it's mainly on the middleman. I started by cost of inputs and the fact that government didn't support us in 2023. So that's one factor. And then the middleman is another factor. Now, so if you look at production, you take the vegetables, for instance. In recent years, we depend in Burkina Faso 100%, about 90% for the tomatoes that we consume on onions, because government left the tomatoes production sector to its feet. Some years back, we have places like Madan, Adan, Chobodom, Tichiman, Timtempo, and then Tuno, supplying our various markets with tomatoes. All these areas have collapsed. When you take the Tuno case, for instance, which we all are familiar with the Nagomo tomatoes, there are certain diseases that infested the land. So now, if you plant tomatoes, it doesn't work. We complain to our researchers, we complain to CSIR to do something about it. They didn't do anything. So this year, we attempted to actually reinvigorate production in those areas. We planted and no farmer even plucked a single fruit. When you go to this is the Akumadan area, the same problem we have, apart from the diseases that we experience, the climate change led to the rains are not coming on time for us to produce. So if you want to address this, I think what we can do is to increase investment in irrigation, and government not to leave the agriculture sector to only the private sector, because now that's what the PFJ2 is doing. They said they are leaving everything to the private sector to connect themselves, go to the bank, get loans, and be able to produce. But that will not help us. This is a sector that faces high risk, and many private investors will not go to those areas. So we think that for us to be able to still maintain our supply and smoothing the price, government needs to intervene. Secondly, government needs to protect our local producers. You can't just leave them to compete with importers who are getting high subsidies. When you do that, you are collapsing your own sector, and that is what currently is happening. So government needs to actually give farmers some kind of support for us to be able to increase the supply.
Director of the Peasant Farmers Association, thank you for your time here on Newsdesk. Away from this, today is World Environment Day. It is set aside to create awareness and action for the protection of the environment. This year, the focus is on land restoration, desertification, and drought resilience. We focus on that as we bring you excerpts of Erastus Asare Donko's documentary, Forest Under Siege.
Ghana has secured a $103 million World Bank loan to, among others, restore cocoa lands, engage the restoration of polluted water resources, and reclaim degraded forest lands, including the Apamprama Forest Reserve. Just before airing this report, we decided to go back to the Apamprama to gauge the situation there. We found many Chinese miners are back to mine in the forest. Some have hit the ground mining, while others have set up camp to continue mining in a forest built for reclamation. You can see fresh excavators, about 8 drums of diesel ready to work. Equipment here and there, you can see the generators and the washing plants. The illegal miners are back. We spotted active mining in areas where the military recently seized and banned equipment. We were told by sources powerful people in government have brokered deals for these Chinese to mine where others have had their equipment bent.
I happen to witness.
Yoda is a journalist who has been monitoring events in the Apamprama Forest Reserve. He has witnessed the selective justice adopted by the forest guards in protecting this reserve.
I was going to interview these illegal miners. One of them was ready to speak to me, and then we saw the vehicle of the forestry, that's the rapid response unit of the Forest Commission, moving to the site. They came and then they took their generators, their pumping machines, and even their motorbikes, and they set fire on all these items. But then, few meters from where they were burning these items was an excavator digging. So I asked the officer, so sir, why are you chasing these illegal miners here by leaving this excavator digging for the same people who are also doing the illegal mining? Then he told me that, oh, for them, they are working in the off-reserve. So that's why they are not going there. But before he told me that, one of them who spoke to me on their quiet told me that the issue is political. So when they come into the forest, they can't arrest whoever they want to arrest. The DCE or the MP will have to give them the order as to who they can arrest. So it tells me that clearly there is a political hand or a big hand somewhere that is manipulating this whole thing.
Many of these farmers have had their source of livelihood destroyed by the mining of this forest.
Now, how do we ensure our environment is safe? Let's speak to Theodore Maoli Bauto, his Communications Director for Partners of Nature Africa. They specialize in the environment. You've worked in this space for a while. Are we making progress from where you sit? You would have to position rightly so that we could hear you clearly.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Yes, I was saying that, yes, we made some significant progress, but at the point, we had to halt our activities for lack of funding because the activities involved a lot of funding, a lot of equipment, and so on. So we virtually are at the halt at the moment.
With illegal mining on the rise and governments struggling to ensure that the illegal miners are apprehended, looking at the trajectory, do you think we can win this fight?
It is a very difficult fight to win because political will has not been forthcoming. Let's be very honest with ourselves. Success in the fight against galamsey will start from the political level because they have control over our agents and whatever resources have to pass this minute. But the unfortunate thing is that as to move forward, some people have connection. So it becomes very difficult but the people who indirectly or some way somehow benefit from these activities to be the same fighting it. So to be honest with us, until we all come honestly on the table and decide that we want to really fight this menace, I don't think we'll make very significant in the fight.
Government in its defense says it has shown political will. It is working to ensure that these illegal miners do not operate. Do you feel they failed?
I would not expect. I want all of us as Ghanaians to look at the happening and pass our own judgment. Because when you do that, it will be a matter of providing data to prove what you are saying. But the ground, what are the things we get? What happens to the various, to the press and this side, combat the men? The things in our news will be our own data to affect government here or that. I don't want one. We don't the damage, I think that problem. So something left for the public just based on what.
Theodore, stay with me. Let me bring in Florence Kukui. She's Director of Public Health at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Just yesterday, government launched the Green Day initiative for the year 2024 to help with planting of trees. What's your assessment of how we've handled the environment so far?
Morning. Thank you for having me. And then Thank you to your cherished viewers. So looking at today as the World Environment Day with the government launching the Green Day, we have the theme for the day being My Land, Our Land, Our Future, or for that matter, ecosystem restoration. When you restore your ecosystem, there are a lot of benefits that we get from it. For that matter, there are a lot of benefits. For instance, we talk about biodiversity conservation. So what we have done is help in the restoring of our biodiversity and help ecosystems a rich diversity of plants and animal species. It also leads to climate implications because we know that forests, wetlands, and plants are carbon sinks. They are carbon dioxide from atmosphere, and the ecosystem is being altered. These things are going to be on an effect on human health. It also involves large sustainability because when we plant trees, we are going to have our ecosystem being restored. We have abundance in agricultural processing. We have it can also lead to tourism because it makes our environment so green. It's part of the system role that is support role, the regulatory role, the provision role, and then the cultural and aesthetic role. So these are some of the things or the reason why government is spending a lot of things in ensuring that everybody plant a tree. Planting a tree also have an improvement on human health because it contributes to clean air and water. It reduces the prevalence of diseases and also improves the overall human health. So it is good to restore our ecosystem, and this will also prevent the spread of zoonotic diseases. Zoonotic diseases, for instance, Ebola, Lassa fever, Asian influenza. When we plant trees, some of these trees are going to help us to curtail some of these diseases and also help enhance food security in the country.
Florence, thank you so much for your time here on NewsDesk. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Meanwhile, government has directed heads of schools and senior high schools across the country to ensure every student plants and nurtures a tree till growth before graduating from school. Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abujinapo says this will help whip up the national consciousness towards conserving the environment. He spoke at the launch of the One Student, One Tree event marking this year's Green Ghana project at the Abuakwa State College in Chibi in the Eastern region.
The implementation of the One Student, One Tree project, which begins on Friday, targets all students in senior high schools, with each student tasked to plant a tree and nurture it till maturity. The initiative is to complement government's effort of planting 10 million trees this year as part of the Green Ghana project, and also to mark the Silver Jubilee celebration of the reign of the Ochehin Osagyefo Amwetia Oforipanyi. Samuel Abdullah Jinapo, the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, who launched the project, tasked heads of senior high schools to collaborate with the Green Ghana Project Planning Committee for a successful implementation.
Importance of trees in terms of their contribution to fighting climate change, their contribution in getting us an environment and a planet and a country that can sustain lives and livelihoods cannot be overemphasized. And that is why I think it's absolutely important that we launch this 2024 edition of One Student, One Tree initiative. And the government has decided that across all second cycle institutions in our country, on June 7th, Friday, every student is expected to plant a tree, and not just planting a tree, planting it and nurturing it to maturity.
As part of its anniversary celebration, the Ochehin, with support from the Lands Ministry, aims to plant 1 million trees. To begin with, Osajefo Amwetia of Repaying planted a commemorative tree during the launch of the One Student, One Tree initiative. He underscored the need to protect the environment since, according to him, natural resources are not to be exploited for personal satisfaction. He warned the continuous degradation of the forest and its associated climate change threatens the sustainability of the environment and survival of man.
Change. And you have a regulatory climate. And you and a swording, any pessimicumina, any scape bonnie. Yet they say a Japadian. Now, I see a TSSM. So, what's Sika saying? So, your Maya, what is saying? So, ma quiet bufu, no Yami Bufua, near Beton, or Yamanwaya, Dumnagana, the AC performance will be here. If you're not to you, self-put-on-your day, Mama said, don't be reckless and irresponsible and be greedy about what you can gain today and forgo what will let you survive.
Watching News 6, we're taking a quick breather. We'll be back with Business to Stay.
Good morning, welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Agriculture is supposed to be the backbone of Ghana's economy, but its main stakeholders, the farmers, continue to lose out on its hefty financial benefits. This is largely attributed to inadequate financial support and resources to upscale production capacity and the lack of technical know-how to modernize agriculture. Smallholder farmers in the Ejiso municipality of the Ashanti region have been introduced to bio-based agricultural innovations to diversify their farming operations whilst providing accessibility to credit facilities to boost their income streams. Here's more in this report.
It's a bit challenging because, you know, accumulating your own money to be used in your business is challenging. So we need the banks to help us. But sometimes the interest rate is so huge that maybe by the time you even finish repaying the loan, you don't even get anything out of the business. So it's like you are working for the banks.
Sheitu Mahama Zule, an aquaculture farmer at Ejiso, is one of thousands of farmers across Ghana who struggle to access credit facilities. In Ghana, many traditional credit providers like banks and microfinance institutions are wary of extending credit to small-scale farmers, fearful of associated risks. The limited accessibility to formal credit forces many farmers to depend on costly informal loans. Kidisil Kwame Inwin is a credit officer at Amanting and Kase Community Bank Limited.
Some of the farmers, when they take the loan facilities, they tend to run away, divert the funds, do other things with it because they think that they have gotten money from the government. That is most of them, their mindset. And you know, their mindset is that if the money is coming from the government, then basically you don't pay back. So when that happens and we begin to chase them, we trace them for the facility, for the loans that you have given them, then the people around them will begin to think that when you take a loan from the bank, they will chase you. So basically, they will not go. And
in 2021, a 4-year project on revenue diversification pathways in Africa through bio-based and circular agriculture innovations was launched with funding from the European Union. The project aims at increasing productivity, exploring income streams and economic opportunities of subsistence and smallholder farmers in sub-Saharan Africa to implement state-of-the-art bio-based innovation. Dr. Ernest Befi is Deputy Director of the Crops Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research.
Having the government having a policy of modernizing agriculture in Ghana, the simplest understanding of it is farmers now beginning to understand that we are moving away from farming to feed yourself and your family to farming to earn income to sustain your family's livelihood.
Divagri would enable diversification of crops and increase value addition, create environmental, social and economic sustainabilities. Project lead Dr. Shadrach Kujuamponsa highlights some bio-based technologies to diversify agricultural production.
We have the biogas. Now what we've been able to do here is to introduce a mobile or portable biogas digester, where farmers can actually digest their organic waste on the farm and be able to generate some energy for cooking. Also, we have the black soldier fly larvae production setup that we've introduced farmers to, and so far we've been able to test different substrates for the BSF to see how well it affects the production rate and all that.
Senior research scientist under the project, Dr. Natson Aram Amengo, assures of prospective benefits from the project.
After all this, there has to be funding. Otherwise, when the project ends, it means the idea dies. So today's event is to bring together potential funders of these technologies, a place where farmers can go to get funding for these technologies so that they can implement them in their field.
For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Brant-Kweku.
Now, head of enterprise banking at Stanbic Bank Ghana, Eric Chiri, has underscored the need for the adoption of universal trusted credentials in advancing the growth and development of micro, small and medium-sized enterprises in Ghana to access cheap loans. According to him, this will enable banks easily access records and authenticate the eligibility of SMEs for funding. He spoke to Joy Business.
Access to affordable finance remains a significant hurdle for micro, small and medium-sized enterprises globally, stifling their potential for growth and hindering economic development in countries that depend on these businesses. Eric Chiri, the head of enterprise banking at Stanbic Bank Ghana, believes that adopting universal trusted credentials will bridge the financing gap for underserved MSMEs.
Under the sponsorship of the Central Banks of Ghana and Singapore, and the Development Bank of Ghana, there is some conversation ongoing. They are developing what they call the UTC, which are trusted, universally accepted, trusted credentials, where we SMEs are being assessed from an ability to pay and an intent to pay perspective. And models, credentials are being built such that, SME, there will be a single source of truth in terms of trusted credentials that lenders can rely on, trade partners can rely on, people providing suppliers credits can rely on to authenticate and validate which SME they are dealing with. And we must commend government and other players across various sectors for some of the initiatives that these UTCs are building on as a backbone. So in Ghana, we are talking about our national identification, our addressing system and those things. And all these things are being pulled into a platform that allows you to be able to, at a click of a button, be able to authenticate an SME as being good for business. And for banks, once those basic KYC requirements are being done, and we are developing those weights that we want to place on certain attributes of SMEs, it gives us the comfort to be able to lend into this sector much more than we currently are, because that is truly our desire as financial institutions in this country.
This represents a significant shift from traditional collateral-based lending, which relies on hard assets, board resolutions, 3-year profitability records, long-term business contracts, and other collateral metrics that businesses must present before receiving financing and financial services.
And that's it for this segment. Short break, the news will be right back.
And that's how we wrap up News Desk. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Faustina Safam. Have a pleasant morning as you enjoy the rest of our programs.